Israel, the moment we've all been waiting for, Israel. Israel's invincible shield just shattered. Iran's hypersonic missiles punched through the Iron Dome like paper tissue, striking civilian areas with devastating precision. Military experts stand shocked. The defense system, with a 98% success rate, just got overwhelmed by waves of Iranian missiles. Tel Aviv is burning, while defense analysts admit they never thought Iran had this capability. Biden's appeasement collapsed. Obama's Iran deal led us here. And now intelligence confirms Iran is 2 to 3 days from nuclear weapons. The Middle East stands on the edge of nuclear war, and only one man has the credibility to prevent Armageddon. Trump is extending an olive branch with an iron fist behind it. Keep watching. Let's be honest. Most guys think low testosterone comes from aging or genetics. That's wrong. The real culprit is something you eat regularly that is destroying your testosterone. Not junk food or sugar, something you've been told is healthy. The team at Sculpt Nation discovered this truth and created Test Boost Max with 8 natural ingredients to restore healthy testosterone without prescriptions or injections. Thousands of men have reclaimed their edge, built muscle, burnt fat, and reignited their drive naturally. Watch their free video exposing this testosterone killer and learn how to fight back. Visit sculptnation.com, NNN. Sculptnation.com/NNN right now and reclaim your strength naturally. What you're about to see should terrify every American. Iran just did the impossible, and Israel's guarantee of safety evaporated in hypersonic flames. Watch Iranian missiles completely overwhelm Israel's Iron Dome. This isn't supposed to be possible. The world's best defense system failing catastrophically.
כאילו שוגר איזה מין אוקיי.
Direct hit on civilian areas. The Iron Dome, Israel's shield that stopped thousands of rockets, just got exposed as vulnerable to new Iranian capabilities. Here's confirmation. Multiple angles showing Iran's missiles breaking through the Iron Dome like it didn't even exist. This changes everything about the Middle East military balance. Let's take a look. Truly devastating and harrowing stuff. A complete defensive failure. If Iran can do this with conventional missiles, imagine what happens when they go nuclear in days, not years. Thanks, Obama. Appreciate that. Really did a bang-up job for our country. Military experts are totally stunned. Watch Lieutenant General Hertling admit what Pentagon planners never expected. Iran's capabilities have quantum leaped beyond predictions. Take a look.
Joining us now is Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, retired commander of U.S. Army Europe. Also with us, nuclear policy and national security expert Joe Cirincione. He's a member of the Council on Foreign Relations and a former advisor to the State Department. Good to have you both here. General Hertling, what do you make of Iran's response so far and their ability to get through the Iron Dome in some places?
Well, truthfully, Anna, it's been fascinating to me. I did not think Iran would have this kind of capability after the initial strike, and the fact that Israel has destroyed most of their air defense, Iranian air defense systems, as well as their air force, as well as decapitating most of their military leadership. So you're talking about more of a response than what I would have expected. And truthfully, the amount and waves of missiles that Iran is throwing at Israel, specifically Tel Aviv, have the capacity to break through. And here's what I mean by that. The Iron Dome, David Sling, all the air defense systems that Israel have are very capable. And when you talk about their capability, it's usually somewhere between 90 to 98% strikes and hit and defensive capability against any incoming ballistic missile. The problem is when you have waves of hundreds of missiles coming in, some of them will break through, and that's what we're seeing happening. If Iran actually synchronizes their attack, much like they tried to do last April 2024, they would be able to get quite a few missiles through into the population centers of Israel, and that could be devastating.
Absolutely devastating stuff. Very, very scary. And our thoughts and our prayers are with our Israeli friends right now. Absolutely terrible, devastating events for one of our strongest allies. Surprising capability. We got waves of missiles. So, I mean, they're going to break through. You know, the translation here is that Israel's safety, the safety guarantee just died, and American military assumptions got shattered. But here's the nightmare scenario. The same expert reveals that Iran's nuclear timeline is not years anymore. Watch this terrifying assessment.
Well, Iran has the capability to produce enough uranium for the core of about 10 nuclear bombs in a matter of weeks, maybe as few as 10 days. It would then have to construct these nuclear devices, which will take months. The official U.S. intelligence estimate is at least a year, although that could be sped up. What Israel had tried to do initially is hit some of those nuclear facilities, and you saw damage to the above ground, the soft parts of those agreements, electrical substations, any facilities that are above ground, but it's unable on its own to get at the deeply buried centrifuges. So you run the risk that Iran could decide to just throw caution to the wind and do an all-out sprint to a bomb. That is what many of us have warned about for years.
10 nuclear weapons in weeks. Earth-shattering, mind-altering. Maybe 10 days. The underground centrifuges that Israel can't touch are spinning right at this very moment. And this is Biden's legacy. This is Obama's legacy. A nuclear Iran. Time to bust out those bunker busters. Trump is sounding every alarm. Watch him lay down America's red line while Fox confirms Iran was just days from nuclear weapons when Israel struck.
Iran has canceled today's nuclear talks with the U.S. as their war with Israel intensifies. President Trump is still hopeful a deal can be reached, but is warning the world about a nuclear Iran.
Look, it's very simple, not complicated. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Other than that, I want them to be successful. I want them to be tremendous. We'll help them be successful. We'll trade with them. We'll do whatever is necessary.
Let's go to Griff Jenkins at the touchscreen to break down the Iranian nuclear threat currently.
Yeah, Dr. Siegel, very active, and we can show you here in just the last 24 hours, there have been at least 80 strikes in Iran, and you can see here in the capital of Tehran. Now, they did hit Natanz, which is their signature nuclear facility, but also here in the northwest, Dr. Siegel, they struck areas that Ambassador Danan told us really were striking at these ballistic missiles. They weren't aware that so many would rain down, causing casualties there. So while the initial strikes were geared towards striking the nuclear and energy components, they are now trying to strike the airfields and where they believe these missiles are coming from.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Simple, clear, no wiggle room. Trump is offering prosperity or utter annihilation and destruction. Iran's choice. But the outcome is guaranteed. The breaking news gets worse. Iran just canceled nuclear talks while launching 80 strikes on Israel. Watch how close we are to regional war going global.
The real threat, as you mentioned, and that is the nuclear capabilities. As I mentioned, Natan's here. That's the main one. That's the one that Israel struck last year. But you also have Isfahan. Now, Isfahan is very significant because it not only houses the smartest of their nuclear scientists, if you will, but they also have a conversion program there that would be the thing that made it an actual nuclear warhead. And Bibi Netanyahu telling our Brett Baird that the strike there really was important in terms of trying to eliminate the threat. Of course, you have in Tehran. Down here, this is Iran's only nuclear plant. They struck that as well. And here, in what is known as the Arak nuclear hard water reactor. That's significant because that cools the heavy water, and that's used to build a byproduct, which is plutonium. And this one right here, I want to show you this one. Fordo. You're going to hear a lot about Fordo. That is a secretly built against the UN regulations. They violated the UN regulations back in 2007, building that nuclear facility. That's under a mountain, and that's the one that Israel doesn't have bunker busters that the U.S. have to reach it. That's why so many people are talking now about whether will the U.S. get involved and help strike Fordo. Otherwise, it could remain. So it obviously has eliminated a lot of the threat, but until they get rid of things like that, it's not fully eliminated.
Natan's hit, more cities burning, the underground Fordo facility targeted. Israel is doing what Obama wouldn't do and what Biden couldn't do, stopping the nuclear weapons by force. And the human cost is mounting. I'd like you to watch this Israeli police spokesman show what Iranian missiles do to civilian neighborhoods. This is terror.
Yeah, Charlie, right now we're just outside of Tel Aviv, where one of those Iranian ballistic missiles slammed into a residential building. You can see behind me just how much damage it did to this building. At least 20 people were wounded here, and we are learning there is one fatality. As we speak, crews are still going through the rubble. They are occasionally stopping their work to call out for survivors. I'm here with Dean Elston, the international spokesman for the Israeli police, to talk about what happened here tonight and the police efforts. Dean, what are your forces doing at this moment?
Well, I can tell you, if we're going to talk about what's happening tonight, I want to point out that when a terror regime consistently tells you death to America, death to Israel, this is what they're talking about. Numerous residential buildings here hit, numerous casualties, and that number is growing, unfortunately, as our crews are working together, our bomb disposal units together with the IDF Home Front Command and MADA, the paramedic first responders. We're all here making sure that we can secure this scene and also find those that were impacted by tonight's terror attack directly on their residential house.
And can you quickly talk about those efforts right now? We see these crews in the buildings up here, and they have headlamps on. They are calling out for survivors, seeing if anyone is trapped into the rubble. Very quickly, how would you describe those efforts?
This is still a very active scene, I can tell you that. The number is growing of the casualties. Our prayers are with them, with their families. We just call on the public to please demonstrate responsibility. Don't come here if you don't have to. Keep the roads clear for our emergency personnel, and definitely do not give out the exact locations. This is about operational security, not secrecy, but strategy to protect all of us.
Over 20 wounded, fatalities rising, rescue crews digging through rubble. Iran targets civilians while claiming victimhood. You know, this is one of the things that Israel is great at, is these precision strikes. You know, they're not trying to kill people. They're just trying to protect themselves. You know, but these are classic terrorist tactics on the part of Iran, and classic gaslighting tactics too. Talk about narcissism. You know, the Secretary of Defense Hegseth confirms that Trump is completely engaged, monitoring every development. No autopilot, no auto pen, no weak responses. America first, but ready for war to protect our allies. Let's take a look at this clip.
The American people can be assured that President Trump is dialed in. This is not an auto pen moment. You know, we had that where the world saw our gaze distracted or not paying attention at all. President Trump is dialed in. I get to see it every single day. He knows every single dynamic of what's going on here. And I'll tell you what he's doing, Rachel. He's putting America first.
Dialed in. He knows every dynamic. Translation. Unlike Biden's absence and Obama's just flat out denial of his job, Trump is actively managing this crisis hour by hour. That's real leadership. Now, here's Trump's offer to Iran. Peace is still possible. Watch him extend an olive branch even as he prepares the sword. Take a look at this clip.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
All right. Options for peace. Negotiate immediately. Now, Trump is giving Iran one last off-ramp before their nuclear program gets turned into glass. At the G7, Trump delivered the ultimate warning. Iran. Okay, yeah, that was what we just looked at. Okay, it was the ultimate warning against Iran. They have an opportunity. This is like, it's a classic Trump negotiation, but it would really be a shame if something were to happen to your fine establishments, Iran. Okay, we're not going to be shaken down by these monsters, by these barbarians. Okay, let's get the next clip cooking. It's a picture. Okay, let's see the picture.
You have the copy for the social post?
I think so. Okay. Iran and Israel should make a deal, and we will make a deal, just like I got India and Pakistan to make. In that case, by using trade with the United States to bring reason, cohesion, and sanity to these talks with two excellent leaders who were able to make a quick decision to stop. Also, during my first term, Serbia and Kosovo were going at it hot and heavy, as they have for many decades. And this longtime conflict was ready to break out into war. I stopped it. Biden has hurt the longer-term prospects with some very stupid decisions, but I will fix it. Again. Another case is Egypt and Ethiopia and their fight over a massive dam that is having an effect on an effect on the magnificent Nile River. There is peace, at least for now, because of my intervention, and it will stay that way. Likewise, we will have peace soon between Israel and Iran. Many calls and meetings are now taking place. I do a lot and never get credit for anything, but that's okay. The people understand. Make the Middle East great again. Now, that is a lofty goal. We've been doing this for quite a few years with the whole Middle East, and I totally appreciate that. Israel is obviously one of our greatest allies, and we would love to. What we would love to do is get our Golden Dome and then send one over to Israel so that this horror doesn't happen anymore. Okay, the Trump Truth Social post reveals his strategy. It's peace through strength, and he deals through leverage. He's already reaching out, already negotiating, and already winning. Iran and Israel should make a deal and will make a deal. And just like yeah. So this is the post. So let's
just go back to the closer.
Okay. We're going to make the Middle East great again. The equation is simple. Okay, Iran cannot have nukes. That's just the simple fact about it. Iran cannot have nukes. Israel will not allow it. Trump will not allow it. This is why the Ayatollahs like to say. This is why when they tried to destroy Israel 48 times already, they said, we're going to come for Saturday, and then we're going to come for Sunday. You know what that means? That means we're going to come for Shabbat, and then we're going to come for your Sunday services. We're going to come for the little Satan, and then we're coming for the big Satan. And it's simply out of the question. And the only question is whether Iran chooses to be wealthy and to join the first world, or do they want to be obliterated off the face of the map? Okay. Obama gave them pallets of cash, and they got their nuclear program totally accelerated. Biden gave them weakness, and they've had regional war. Now Trump is offering prosperity for peace. Now, what do you think the children of Muhammad are going to choose? Let us know in the chat, first of all. Now, if you got some value from this report, please tap subscribe. And my final thought is next. The Iron Dome is broken. Iran is days away from a nuclear weapon. Israel is fighting for survival. And brain dead Biden nowhere to be found. Of course, right? You know, this is what Obama appeasement brought us. This is what Biden weakness brought us. A nuclear threshold Iran with missiles that punch through our best defenses. But Trump is already working it. Calls happening, deals forming, peace through strength, not pallets of cash. He'll either broker the deal of the century or oversee Iran's nuclear program becoming a parking lot, the parking lot that it should be. Now, those are the only options left. No more can kicking, no more bribes, no more pretending that sanctions work on religious fanatics, okay? Trump says that Iran can be successful without nukes. And they better listen, because the alternative is their civilization becoming thrust onto the ash heap of history. And now here's a controversial question. Should Israel preemptively strike Iran's nuclear facilities before they get the bomb? Yes or no? Drop us in the chat. Drop us a little line in the chat. Yes, a Y for yes, N for no. You know, nuclear war or negotiated peace. Trump is the only leader that both sides can trust.